Hello, my name is Scott Davis. Welcome to New World Birth. This is the weekly neutrino forecast for July 24th to July 30th of 2016. And on July 24th, we have the sun. You can see it denoted right here by this black circle with a dot in it. It's in Leo. It's also in the 56 hexagram. And on the outside of the wheel, we have the chop mark for the 56, numbered from bottom to top. The 56 goes yin, yin, yang, yang, yin, yang. And then the 56 hexagram is mapped to an opening in an energy channel called a gate. And right here, this is the 56th gate of stimulation, the wanderer, stability through movement, the perpetuation of continuity through the linking of short-term activity, located in the throat center in a collective abstract energy path in the sensing circuit called the Channel of Curiosity, a design of a seeker that connects with the 11th gate of ideas, peace, a harmonic condition in the individual or society that permits assessment before renewed action. And I found human design to be amazingly accurate in describing the person that I use it as my primary tool when I provide readings. And we have the following activated gates on July 24th. The sun is in the 56th gate with the earth in the 60th gate. The north node is in the 64th gate with the south node in the 63rd gate. Mercury is in the 4th gate with Venus in the 7th gate, and Mars is in the 14th gate. Jupiter is in the 47th gate. Saturn is retrograde in the 9th gate. Uranus is at a standstill or stationed, is the astrology term for it, as it's turning retrograde on the 29th, and it's in the 42nd gate. And then we've got Neptune retrograde in the 63rd gate, which is sharing with the south node. And Pluto is retrograde in the 54th gate. So obviously not every gate activation forms a channel, but this information can be very helpful if you know your own human design chart, because some of these transits will form channels with potentials in your personal body graph. And we begin the week with two channel definitions due to the transit field. With the North Node in the 64 and Jupiter in the 47, we've got the Channel of Abstraction, a design of mental activity mixed with clarity until August 3rd. The energy of this channel is about creating something new out of something old. This is about abstract thought being brought into the collective consciousness through the arts, philosophy, history, and culture. It's wonderful energy for telling stories about our experiences that inspire others, but can bring confusion when used to try to resolve our own issues. And then with Mercury in the 4 and Neptune and the South Node in the 63, we have the Channel of Logic until the 27th, which is about mental ease mixed with doubt. None of us are designed to make decisions based on our minds, and this channel brings mental gifts that should be used in the service of others rather than trying to understand our own lives. When your strategy and authority presents you with someone who needs your clarity and inspiration, this transit can support the process. This is scientific thinking through being skeptical and questioning whether the logic or patterns are valid. It brings mental pressure to people without a defined head center, which in turn can bring doubt when trying to analyze their own lives. This definition is future-oriented through looking at mental patterns and projecting them into what lies ahead. This can bring worry, as any answers revealed by this process will need to be tested and proved to determine if they have practical applications. The best use of this definition is for research purposes and testing of hypotheses, and then recognizing that the results need to be invited before they are shared. And with both of these definitions, the defined ajna center can influence people to believe that they are mentally certain even when they're not, and the defined head center can bring pressure to think about things that don't matter. July 24th begins with the sun in the 6th line of the 56th hexagram, and the sun is exalted in the 56th as caution, exalted the prudence when linkage has been achieved to honor its commitments in order to secure its footing. Honesty in expression, living by one's word. Later on the 24th, the sun moves out of the 56 and into the 31, which then defines the G center and the throat center. and the Earth moves out of the 60, and it moves into the 41. All right, and so we have the Earth is in the 41st gate of correction, decrease, the limitation of resources which maximizes the development of potential. And this shift happens at 7:46 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is 11:46 UT. And we have the Sun in the 31st gate of leading, influence, the law of friction, whether active or passive, that engenders transference and thus influence. And the Sun is exalted in the first line of the 31 and described as manifestation. Influence cannot exist in a vacuum. Exalted, the Sun cannot hold back its light, and thus is influence on every life. The natural expression of leadership. And as we move from the 56 to the 31, we entered the gate of a gate of sharing collective expression. It brings influence through form. The presence of this gate in someone's design influences others simply by being in their aura. It's a throat gate of the collective voice of behavior that says, I lead, or I don't lead. The 31 is designed to be influential by sharing patterns and understanding and doing so in a way that is unexpected. It's harmonic. The 7th gate in the G center feeds influence through logical direction in relationships. The not self of the 31 tries to have an impact on someone else, telling people what they should do, what they shouldn't do, what corrections to make, how to behave. Its polarity, the 41st gate, with its pressure for new experiences, the gate, this is the 41st gate, is the gate that begins the rave new year. So when the Sun enters the 31, we're halfway through the rave year. And the 31 is always looking towards the future. This is the quarter of civilization's variation of the cross of the unexpected, which challenges the king or the tribal leader. These are leaders who are elected by the collective, which can bring unexpected leaders that come out of nowhere, claim power, and have influence, suddenly given authority due to unexpected events. Sometimes people on this cross inherit early in life due to the unexpected passing of their parents. When the Sun is in the 31, we have the influence as a result of unexpected leadership. And with the Sun in the 31 and Venus in the 7, we have the channel of the Alpha, which is the design of leadership for good or bad until the 27th. This might be a time where folks are recognized as true leaders, but the more reluctant they are to assume this responsibility, the better leaders they'll become. Being a logical collective channel, this confers the ability to understand patterns and trends which can be projected into the future. They also can explain this information logically in a way that others can understand. The most important aspect of these leaders is that they're attuned to the rhythm of the people that they lead. And the defined G center can influence those without to obsess about where they're headed and where they might find love. And the defined throat center can influence those without to perhaps talk about being a leader or not being a leader to attract attention. And then on the 25th, the Sun then moves into the second line of the 31st hexagram at 7:20 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is 11:20 UT. The Sun in the 31-2 is described as arrogance, independent action without guidance, exalted, the dedication to higher principles that cannot wait for consensus, leadership that cannot wait for consensus, detriment, a reasoned arrogance that out of nervous tension jumps the gun and often misfires, the drive for expression that cannot wait and may cost leadership. On the 26th, the Sun then moves into the third line of the 31st hexagram at 6:53 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 1053 UT. The sun is exalted in the 31.3 as selectivity, exalted the ability to carefully assess and choose the proper influence and tailor one's behavior accordingly, the capacity to lead enhanced through association and proper influences. On the 27th, the sun then moves into the fourth line of the 31 at 6:26 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 10:26 UT. The sun in the 31.4 is intent, the successive influences based on how it is perceived, exalted public acknowledgement of a nurturing and protective influence, external positive recognition of one's capacity to lead, detrimented perceived ego aggrandizement and attempting manipulation, external negative projection of one's capacity to lead. And then also on the 27th, Mercury moves out of the fourth hexagram and into the 29, but at the same time, actually about 8 hours later, Venus moves out of the 7, this definition goes away, and into the 4, so that definition returns after an 8-hour hiatus there. We've got Mercury in mythology was the messenger of the gods. This is about communication, and Ra talked about it being expansion of human consciousness through communication, not just as words, but also as music. And it's in the gate of saying yes. The abysmal, the deep within the deep. Persistence despite difficulties has inevitable rewards. Mercury is in the first line of the 29, which is the draftee, the ability to adapt to struggle when necessary, but not as a permanent state, exalted the innate nature to apply energy in times of war and peace, the power to persevere when necessary, but not generally, detrimented a deep impressionability whose mark from times of struggle may make return to normal conditions extremely difficult, hesitation in making commitments based on past experiences. And in the program, Mercury is about expression through communication. It influences the homogenized population to communicate about the themes of the gate and line that transiting Mercury inhabits. Its primary impact is psychological. It impacts the not-self mind. It distorts the way we look at things in a way that can lead to action. And this conditions people to think and communicate about the same things. In the 29th gate, I'd expect to hear people say yes, even when they mean no. And then also on the 27th, we've got Venus moving from the 7 to the 4. Venus is about values in human design, morality, natural law in which we deal with the other and the consequences of the world around us. And it is in the 4th gate, which is formalization, youthful folly, the energy to beguile and succeed despite ignorance, freedom from retribution. And Venus is in the first line of the 4th hexagram, which is pleasure. Ultimate pleasure cannot be achieved without perfect timing. Exalted, the instinct to know the right moment and circumstances where pleasure is rewarded and not punished. The potential to recognize that there is a natural timing to the understanding process. Detrimented, timing is not a product of discipline. Exaggerated self-discipline leads to the abuse of pleasure. The potential to recognize, but the urge to force the timing. And in the program, Venus is about controlling, about control through maintaining the status quo in the way in which we operate with each other. And we experience the transiting planets through the Maya, and we're really not here to avoid the Maya, but to embrace it, but embracing it as yourself through following your strategy and authority. And with Venus in the 4, and Neptune and the South Node in the 63, we have again the channel of logic until August 1st. which, as we talked about earlier, is about mental ease mixed with doubt. So, and we continue to have a defined head center, bringing us the pressure to think about things that don't matter, and a defined ajna center, influencing folks without to believe that they, or perhaps believe that they're certain of something even when they're not. So on the 28th, we then have the sun moving into the fifth line of the 31st hexagram at 5:58 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is 9:58 UT. The sun in the 31.5 is described as self-righteousness, lack of external influence guaranteed by attitude. Exalted, the natural specialization that only develops in isolation. However, when the development is complete, the extreme difficulty and generally impossible task of externalizing the influence, the specialization that demands one lead oneself. Detriment, a deep focus on personal experience that is self-fulfilling and has no external ambitions. A lack of ambition where one is content to lead oneself. And then on the 29th, the sun then moves into the sixth line of the 31st hexagram at 5:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, which is 9:30 UT. The sun is exalted in the 31.6 as application, exalted actions which match the words and thus guarantee success, leadership whose expression and action must be one and the same. And then on the 30th, the sun moves from the 31st hexagram and gate to the 33rd hexagram and gate, with the earth moving from the 41st hexagram and gate to the 19th. So we have the earth in the 19th hexagram. This is the gate of wanting approach, that all things are interrelated is apparent and manifested through the action of approach. And this shift happens at 5:02 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, 9:02 UT, and the sun is in the 33rd gate of privacy, retreat, active withdrawal, and the transformation of a weak position into strength. The sun's exalted in the first line of the 33 and described as avoidance, exalted the wisdom in a weak position to recognize that survival demands complete withdrawal, retreating when it realizes that they are in a weak position. And as we move from the 31 to the 33rd hexagram, we enter a gate of sharing collective expression. This is the last gate of the quarter of form. The cross. This is the cross that says there are four ways that we can move in life, and that even in withdrawal, we still move forward in evolution. As Bob Marley sang, "He who fights and runs away lives to fight another day." It's a throat gate of the collective voice of behavior that says, I remember or I don't remember. It's an abstract collective gate that reviews past experiences and that may share them or not. And the 33rd hexagram is associated with a stop codon in DNA. So the 33rd gate can put an end to a conversation. It's harmonic. The 13th gate in the G center, the behavior of listening in the channel of the prodigal, a design of being a witness. Its polarity, the 19th gate of needs with its pressure for territory and to find food resources. These are the needs of the form. So there is a vulnerability in needing something if that need cannot be met at this time, and perhaps there is a need to retreat. This is the quarter of civilization's variation of the cross of the four ways, with the sun in the gate of privacy. This is about having your own space. In civilization, we have our own rooms, or at least shelters for our family. So as we complete the quarter of civilization with the 33rd gate and hexagram taking us from womb to room. Also on the 30th, Mercury moves from the 29th gate to the 59th gate. So again, we talked about Mercury being communication and what might be communicated when Mercury is in the 59th gate. Well, we might expect to hear people talking about intimacy and mating. This is the gate of sexuality, dispersion, the ability to break down barriers and achieve a union. Mercury is detrimented in the first line of the 59, which is the preemptive strike. Detrimented. In this position, the ability and intelligence to recognize, but deep indecisiveness about how and when to act. The potential of fertility limited by uncertainty. So I want to thank you for checking out New World Birth. The next segment of the weekly neutrino forecast will be for July 31st. 2016 should be available on the 30th, when we'll continue to look at the influence of the heavenly bodies as they transit the sky and the hexagrams of the I Ching. You can check us out on Facebook, Blogger, and YouTube. It says New World Birth presences in those places. And I encourage you to share this information as videos or as text as widely as you choose, and invite you to contact me at newworldbirth@yahoo.com if you have any questions or you wish to schedule a reading. And if you've been thinking about getting a reading, please contact me. I would love to provide you a reading during these uncertain times. You'll need to be able to either call me in Maine in the USA, or we can connect with Skype to receive your reading. We're also accepting donations to keep these reports freely available. And again, using the email for newworldbirth@yahoo.com is a way to contact me and get instructions about how you can make a donation. And as I've been mentioning, we are definitely in need of financial support, whether it's a donation or getting a reading, which, as I've said in the past, is usually they're priced fairly inexpensively, and what you get for the money is significant. I mean, my readings usually go 2, sometimes 3 hours. So anyway, as always, I am blessed that you've taken the time to connect with my passion for these ancient mysteries, their synthesis and application to our journey during this incarnation. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste, in Lakesh, and as Ra would say, love yourself. All my best to you, and look forward to connecting with you in the future.